Okay. Shall pass on to the next verse, number 35. Api prasannam harineshu te manaha karastha darbha pranayapaharishu ya utpalakshi prachalair vilochanaihi tavakshi sadrishyamiva prayunjate. In this verse, he is making an inquiry as to whether her mind is pleased with the deer around her. And once again, in the latter half of the verse, he makes a reference to the beauty of the deer, bringing into account the beauty of Parvati herself. The shloka is simple, the prose order is quite simple. Karastadarbha pranayapaharishu harineshu te manaha api prasannam utpalakshi ye prachalaihi vilochanaihi tava kshisadrishyam prayunjate iva. Te manaha is your mind. Is it pleased? Api prasannam. With regard to the deer, harineshu. So, is your mind gracious with the deer that are around her? And the harineshu is qualified by, the deer qualified by karasthadarbha pranayapaharishu, the second quarter of the verse. They snatch away apahari, lovingly, pranaya. The darbha grass that are in her hand, in Parvati's hand. So, is your mind pleased with them? He refers to her as O lotus-eyed, Utpalakshi, O lotus-eyed lady. These deer, ya Utpalakshi, after the Padacheda here, Sandhi dissolution, we get ye Utpalakshi. Even if the word yaha were there, that also would lead ya Utpalakshi, but in our context it is a reference to the deer in plural, so the harinaha, and therefore ye Utpalakshi is the construction to be taken there. Ye, which refers to the deer here, so the harinas. Ye prayunjate means practice. Practice similarity, sadrishyam. with your eyes. Tava Akshi. They do not exactly practice, it is as though they practice. Iva. By means of their eyes, Vilochanahi, their glances or eyes, which are tremulous, Prachalaihi. So in this shloka, the Brahmacharin is asking whether Parvati's mind is pleased with the deer around. The deer snatch away with love the darbha grass that may be in her hand. The first thing that impresses anyone of the deer is their beautiful eyes, and their glances are very tremulous, which makes them even more charming. And a reference to their eyes draws attention to the eyes of Parvati, and it is as though the eyes of the deer vie with the eyes of Parvati. Parvati's eyes resemble the lotuses, and by means of the tremulous glances, the eyes of the deer, which are charming, they try to resemble the eyes of Parvati. This is the idea in this verse. Api prasannam harineshu te manaha. Te manaha, your mind. Manaha is Navumsakalinga, Prathama Vibhakti, Ekavachana. So the word prasannam is adjective with that, and therefore this is also Navumsakalinga, Prathama Vibhakti, Ekavachana. Api te manaha prasannam. Is your mind clear? So that means unagitated. So there is a Amarakosha, it says prasadastu prasannata. Prasada and prasanna and prasannata are synonymous. So prasada and prasannata are also words used to qualify water. So where the waters are limpid or very pure, the word prasanna is used. So as we have in the Ramayana reference, Ramaniyam prasannam busan manushya manoyatha. So te manaha api prasannam. The opposite of this is being turbid, means both agitated and having, see, the dirt in it aroused and so on. And therefore prasanna means something which is very clear, very pure and very pleasant. So in other words, the mind of Parvati is not disturbed. I hope your mind is not perturbed by the deer, on account of the deer, is what the Brahmacharin is asking. Why should the mind of Parvati be perturbed? And that is because the deer snatch away, apaharishu. So they take away the darbha in her hand. So she should not be angry with such deer. Harineshu. So here the Saptami is what is called Vishaya Saptami. So Harina Vishaye ityarthaha. Harineshu Vishaye. This is Pullinga Saptami Bahuvachana. And the whole expression Karastha Darbha Pranayapaharishu is adjectival to Harineshu, and therefore this whole expression is also Pullinga Saptami Bhakti Bahuvachana. So towards the deer which fondly grab lovingly, so pranaya. Apaharishu, they grab the darbha grass in her hand. The deer are very fond of the darbha grass, and whenever they are hungry, they would like to eat that. And whenever they see darbha grass, also they are tempted to eat. For animals such as the cows and the deer can chew the cud and ruminate later, and therefore the moment they see darbha grass easily available, they would like to snatch the same. So they are easily available now as they are in the hands of Parvati. Karastha, so refers to being Parvati Karastha. So they are in the hand of Parvati. So while she is performing tapas, so for the sake of her homa or whatever, so we say darbhapanihi, darbhasanaha and so on, and therefore for everything at every stage we require darbha grass and she must have had a handful of darbha grass, and the deer, the moment they see the darbha grass in her hand, they would like to put their mouth there and snatch it away. Doesn't that irritate you? So this the brahmacharin is asking, as though it looks like a very pleasant common talk or whatever, or sort of kushala prashna, there is meaning in it. So one is apt to get irritated when a person is disturbed while he is doing some religious activity. So because one has to do that, see, with some sense of urgency or with some due attention to be paid and so on. If the deer snatch the darbha grass in the hand of Parvati, Parvati will have to once again go to the collection of her darbha grass and bring that again. So this kind of an action by the deer can irritate a person, but on the other hand, in spite of that, her mind should be calm and pleasant, unperturbed. This can be possible when she notices that the deer do it not out of some grudge, but lovingly do they do it. So if her mind pays attention to this pranayapahara, that they do it fondly and not with an intention to disturb her tapas, so she must be able to immediately reconcile with that and go and fetch some more darbha grass as calmly as ever. And therefore the irritation that can be possible for a person when he is disturbed in his tapasic activities is what is intended here. Mallinatha offers an interesting alternative reading here. So the Pathantara being Karastha Darbha Pranayaparadhishu. Instead of Apaharishu, we have the reading Aparadhishu. So they offend lovingly. So once again snatching, the idea is the same, however. So they are snatching the darbha grass, which must have collected with quite some difficulty. So what has been done with difficulty, if it is easily taken away by somebody else, one can get a little irritated. So isn't that happening? Now this itself is an indication of the progress of tapas. So one may be slightly irritated at the commencement of tapas, that these are distractions and disturbances, but as tapas progresses, one develops a certain calmness of mind and is not disturbed by such little distractions and difficulties or disturbances, and therefore the control of anger is one mark of the progress of tapas. So taking life as it comes and paying attention to the love and fondness with which the deer do this must all make a person keep his mind very cool. So it's not that she should exert herself to keep her mind calm, but it should be naturally calm. So api prasannam harineshu te manaha karastha darbha pranayapaharishu. So Mallinatha paraphrases it by saying saparadhishu iti bhavaha. The word karastha darbha pranayapaharishu used to be analyzed like this: kare tishtanti iti karasthaha. What is in her hands? Karasthascha te darbhascha. It's karastha darbhaha. Tan, that is karastha darbhan, pranayena apaharanti. Pranayena has an adverbial force here, and therefore this yields karastha darbha pranayapaharinaha, and teshu yields the pullinga sutami bhakti bahuvachana form. Karastha darbha pranayapaharishu harineshu te manaha api prasannam. As Mallinatha notes, Saparadheshvapi nakopitavyam tapasvibhihi iti bhavaha. Ascetics ought not to get angry even with regard to persons who offend them. So she should not take this as a serious offense and she should be naturally very calm regarding them. So A here refers to the Harinaha referred to in the first quarter of the verse, and therefore this is M13 Pullinga Prathama Vibhakti Bahuvachana. A, that is A Harinaha, they are endeavoring to attain equality with her eyes. So Prayunjate means practice, and Prayunjate iva, Malinatha glosses this as Abhinayanti iva. So it's as though they are practicing the attainment of similarity. Sadrishyam is similarity, and Akshisadrishyam Prayunjate, this is the Karman of Prayunjate, therefore this is Navamsakalinga Dvitiya Vibhakti Ekvachana form. Akshisadrishyam is to be dissolved as Akshnoho Sadrishyam. Tat in the sense of Dvitiya Vibhakti Ekvachana yields Akshisadrishyam. We have to construe Tava and Akshi as semantically connected. So Tava Akshisadrishyam, vying with your eyes, trying to emulate your eyes. So this they do with their Prachalaihi Vilochanaihi. Vilochanaihi is glances. So Lochanam, Lochane, Lochanan. Therefore this is Navamsakalinga Tritiya Vibhakti Bahuvachana, and its adjective Prachalaihi is also Navamsakalinga Tritiya Vibhakti Bahuvachana. So through their tremulous eyes they are trying to attain similarity with your eyes. You must note that Parvati herself had very tremulous eyes, but after taking up tapas, she has forsaken that, as described by Kalidasa himself in the description of her austerities. So, and yet some element of it seems to remain, and in any case, the deer are famous for their tremulous glances. Parvati's eyes are here compared to the lotus, Utpalakshi. So it is Utpala means lotus, Utpale iva Akshini yasyaha sa yields Utpalakshi. And in the Sambodhana Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachana, vocative of address referred to as Tat Sambuddhau. We have Utpalakshi. So the Utpala is the blue lotus. So as Amarkosha says, Syad Utpalam Kuvalayam. Utpala and Kuvalaya are synonymous, and therefore the eyes of Parvati resemble the Kuvalaya, and Utpalakshi is a word of address for Parvati. So in this verse also he draws attention to the beauty of Parvati. So Parvati's eyes. So Utpalakshi, O lady endowed with lotus-like eyes, these deer try to emulate your eyes. Tava Akshisadrishyam Prayunjate iva. Prayunjate itself is from pra plus root yuji. There are several yujis in Sanskrit. There are some 3 roots at least, so belong to different conjugation. So here it belongs to 7th conjugation. It is yujir yoge. And the forms are pra plus Yungte, yunjate, yunjate, yungshe, yunjathe, yungdve, yunje, yunjvahe, yunjmahe. These are the forms. So prayunjate looks like ekvachana form, but it's actually let prathama purusha bahuvachana form. So this has to be in accordance with A. So which is bahuvachana here. So A prayunjate. So this is also bahuvachana and this is also bahuvachana. So A refers to harinaha. Harinaha prayunjate. Therefore this is bahuvachana form. So Ye harinaha prayunjate. So they envy your eyes and they strive to attain equality with your eyes, is what is said in this verse. You can see that the performance of tapas is not an activity that requires a closing of one's eyes and sitting still all the 24 hours of a day, but it also involves paying attention to the vegetation around and to the animals around. We can see that Kalidasa invariably refers to the plants first and animals next. So we saw in Shloka 13, for example, Latasu Tanvishu Vilasa Cheshtitam and Vilola Drishtam Harinanganasu Cha. There also the same ideas are referred to in the same order more or less. And in Shlokas 14 and 15 also, Atandrita Sa Swayameva Vrikshakan and Aranya Bejanjalidana Lalitaha, also the same order is more or less adhered to. Only in Shloka 17 there is a slight alteration in the order. Virodhisattvojjita purva matsaram and Drumair abhishta prasavarchita atithi, etc. But otherwise, and even later also he makes a reference in Shloka 16, 61. So Drumeshu Sakhya, Kritajanma Suswayam, etc. And so on. There also in both the verses, Drumeshu Sakhya and the next verse, Navedmi Sabprarthi Durlabha Katham, etc. There also a reference is made to the vegetation around her. So all this is also in parallel to the Ankurarpana, which is done as a part of the activities in the various samskaras. So this holds a parallel there, and therefore the brahmacharin is making inquiries with regard to the tending of plants with love and care, and the tending of the deer with love and care, and not being irked by their activities such as snatching of the darbha grass, which must have been collected by her by her own hand, and therefore so her efforts are somewhat laid waste by the snatching away by the deer of the darbha grass which she is bringing towards the homasthana, and yet she is unperturbed. And if she is unperturbed, that is a mark of the progress of her tapas, and the question of the brahmacharini is nothing irrelevant, and it is very pertinent and is directly linked to the performance of her tapas itself. We shall pass on to the next verse. Yaduchyate Parvati Papavrittaye Narupamittya Vyabhicharitadvachaha Tathahite Sheelamudara Darshane Tapasvinamapyupadeshatam Gatam. This is Shloka 36. In this verse, the Brahmacharyan makes a reference to the extraordinary beauty of Parvati and presents the idea that good form and good conduct go together, and that the exemplary conduct of Parvati serves as a veritable model for even ascetics. So there is a reference here to the adage, namely Papa vrittaye na rupam. Rupam is form. It actually refers to beauty. Rupam Papa vrittaye. The adhyahara is kalpate. So kalpate means conduces to Papa vritti, is evil conduct. Vritti can also mean the mental tendencies and therefore to unwholesome tendencies. Na means no. So good form Rupam obviously implies Surupam. Surupam papavrittaye na kalpate is the idea. So good form conduces not to evil mentalities. Iti yaduchyate. So iti yaduchyate. What is stated? Which means it is an idea that is commonly known. So the common belief that good form conduces not to evil conduct is tadvachaha, that utterance, vachaha is utterance, is avyabhachari, is inviolable. So is unexceptionable. Tathahi, so indeed. It is typical in Sanskrit to introduce an idea, a corroborating idea with the expression tathahi. So indeed it is. So it has the function of the colon in English. Tathahi, so indeed. So an illustration for the same is easily forthcoming here. Te Sheelam, your own conduct, your own character. Udara Darshane is a word of address to Parvati. So Darshana means eyes. Udara means broad. O broad-eyed lady. Te Sheelam, your conduct, has attained gatam. This ta is the condition of the status, has attained the status of an upadesha, so an instruction. Parvati's conduct is a model conduct. For whom? It's not for the lay folk, but even for the ascetics. Tapasvinamapi, even for ascetics. So in this verse, the Brahmacharya is saying that there is a full concordance between the extraordinary beauty of Parvati and the extraordinary conduct of Parvati. So good form and good conduct go together. Now this is a common belief, an almost universal belief that we find well attested in ancient literature. Mallinatha himself quotes a few. Now there is this saying, Yatra kritis tatra gunaha vasanti. Where akriti is, there gunas are. Akriti is good shape or good form. So yatra akritis tatra gunaha vasanti. Where there is a fine frame, there also are enviable virtues. There is this saying, Perhaps this is from Dandin. Nahi surupaha papasamacharaha bhavanti. So those who are endowed with surupa or a good form, so their samachara, the word samachara in Sanskrit means their conduct. So nahi surupaha papasamacharaha bhavanti, and therefore surupa and sadachara go together. In Shakuntala itself we have this concordant statement which says na tadrishaha akriti visheshaha gunavirodhano bhavanti. So he refers to akriti vishesha. We already have this word akriti here, and here there is a reference to akriti vishesha. So they cannot be gunavirodhin. So the two go together. So just a few verses ago we had the expression vapur vishesha. So Kalidasa is often making a reference to akriti vishesha and vapur vishesha. In Mrichakatika we have nahyakritihi susadrisham vijahati vrittam. So once again the word akriti and vritta or conduct, they are taken together there. In Banabhatta's Kadambari we have akritirevacha anumaneti amanushatam. We also had this Vedic statement rupamevasya vyanchaste bahumanam. This idea occurs in Western literature also. In Shakespeare's Tempest we have this expression, there is no ill that can dwell in such a temple. So temple referring to a fine form. In Spenser we have all that is fair is good. So by nature good. So fairness and goodness are taken to go together. There also are a few utterances where some discordance between the two is also shown, where people endowed with beauty are not necessarily ones having good conduct, but they are generally taken as exceptions, and the better norm or the more popular norm is that good conduct and good form, they go together. And here the Brahmacharin is saying that what is commonly stated, yad uchyate, what is commonly said is, he says, he doesn't say that it is just the truth. He says this is something that has no exception, avyabhichari. In Sanskrit the word vyabhichara refers to an exception, and therefore avyabhichari is something that has no exception. So avyabhichari tadvachaha. Parvati is a word of address here. O Parvati, therefore Parvati is ikaranta strilinga shabda, and this is sambodhana prathama vibhakti ekvachana form. So hey Parvati, O Parvati, yad uchyate, what has been stated. So uchyate is from root bru, bru viktayam vachi, for which is the karmani form. In the kartari form we have braviti, brutaha, bruvanti, etc., or brute, bruvate, bruvate, etc., as it is ubhayapadi. And in karmani we have uchyate, uchyete, uchyante. So what has been commonly said? So yat uchyate, tat. So this yat and tat go together. So yat vachaha uchyate, the utterance that is said. So yat and tat being navamsakalinga prathama vibhakti ekvachana, vachaha also is navamsakalinga prathama vibhakti ekvachana. Tat vachaha, that utterance, that statement is something which is avyabhichari. So as avyabhichari qualifies vachaha, is the predicate of vachaha, this is also in 1-1. So avyabhichari, avyabhicharini, avyabhicharini are the set of forms. So here you have vachaha, vachasi, vachamsi, tattetani, yattetani, etc. So all in neuter gender. So the word avyabhichari is to be dissolved as vyabhicharitum shilam asya, is vyabhichari. So what goes astray. So tat na bhavati. So na vyabhichari is avyabhichari. So that is something unexceptionable. So what fully accords with, so what finds no exception. Papavrittaye is papasya vrittihi papavrittihi. So vritti is strilinga in Sanskrit, and therefore papavrittaye is tasyai, add tasyai. This is F41 strilinga chaturthi ekvachana. The Amarkosha notes the synonyms as astri pankam puman papma. So papman is masculine, and papam kilbisha kalmasham. So papam is sin, it is neuter. So papasya vrittihi. In Sanskrit the word papam is napumsakalinga and means sin, and papaha is masculine and means a sinner, and therefore papavritti is the conduct of a sinner, or the sinner, the conduct itself is evil, either way. So it is chaturthi vibhakti ekvachana. Papavrittaye kalpate, it means it conduces to. So many times the verb is omitted where it is very evident from the other constructions. So kalpate is left out because the chaturthi itself here indicates the tadarthya aspect, and therefore papavrittaye rupam na kalpate. Rupam itself is navamskalinga, and this is navamskalinga prathama vibhakti ekvachana. Rupam papavrittaye na. So form, that is good form, is not something that leans towards an evil conduct. So Malinatha says rupam he glosses as saumya kritihi, means a pleasing form. So such a pleasant form would not lean towards, so the proclivities of people endowed with a physical charm, so do not turn evil. So this is the idea that has been conveyed here. Anyhow, the Brahmacharin puts this idea to his advantage here by making a reference to it and saying that, O Parvati, in your case, at least the form and the conduct, they accord very well with each other. So, and in order to emphasize that, he says that that statement itself is something unexceptionable, and therefore you are endowed with an excellent conduct, tathahi. So accordingly, that is the idea of tathahi. So both are avyayas, tatha and he are both are indeclinables, avyayas. Te shilam, your own conduct. Shila is navamskalinga, prathama vibhakti ekvachana. So te shilam, your conduct has become, so as see, the word for become is gatam, and it has to accord with shilam, therefore this is also navamskalinga prathama vibhakti ekvachana form. Te shilam gatam. So your shila, your conduct has come to this, has come to serve as a model. So upadeshatam gatam. So it is the word is taken as upadishyate anena is upadeshaha. Then tasya bhavaha is upadeshata, and tam upadeshatam gatam. Te shilam upadeshatam gatam. So it is serving as a model even for tapaswins. So tapaswins means men of asceticism. So tapaha asti yesham te. The matup is sometimes added in certain specific senses. So we can say prashastam tapaha asti yesham te. So they are to be called tapaswins whose tapas is extraordinary, and therefore the tapas of Parvati has become, the conduct of Parvati has become a veritable ideal for ascetics. So of great asceticism, prashastam tapas, and tapasvinam is pullinga. So even for ascetics who are men, so the conduct of Parvati, who is a woman, so is serving as a model, as it were. And therefore the Brahmacharini is emphasizing that spirituality includes, transcends an ethical behavior by inclusion and not by exclusion, and the form and the appearance of Parvati and her noble conduct, they go together and they are in full accordance with each other. And the rule that the two go together is unexceptionable, and in the case of Parvati, so her own conduct has become a model for the sages. He addresses her here as Udara Darshane. Darshana, so means eye in Sanskrit, and the delusion is given as Drishyate Abhyam iti darshane, referring to the eyes. Darshanam, darshane, darshanani. So take Udara with that. So as darshane here is N12. So Udare is to be taken also as N12. Udare darshane yasyaha sa, she whose eyes are Udara. Udara means broad or big. The word is also construed in a different manner. So Udaram darshanam yasyaha sa, one whose vision is broad. So in which case the address Udara darshane means, O lady with a broad vision, so with a generous vision. Malinatha glosses this as either Ayatakshi or Surupe. So words of address, Ayatakshi means O lady with wide eyes, or Surupe means having a good appearance. And alternatively, in the as per the second dissolution, it is taken as Unnata Jnane, O lady endowed with a lofty knowledge. Vivekavati, endowed with full sense of discrimination. Now the conduct of Parvati, because of her broad vision, so her Unnata Jnana and her high sense of discrimination, is serving as a model. Tapasvinam api upadeshatam gatam. The question is raised in Dharma Shastras in the very opening sections as to what constitutes dharma and what is the pramana for dharma. And in such cases, apart from Shruti and Smriti, the conduct of the great itself is given as serving as a model for dharma or as the very constituent of dharma. So there is this famous saying, Vedo khilo dharma moolam smriti shile cha tadvidam. So the shila or the conduct of the noble is considered as the very pramana of dharma, and therefore there is also the saying, Shrutis smritis sadacharaha swasya cha priyamatmanaha. So the sadachara, the conduct of the great, so the tadvidam shila, so tadvit is one who knows dharma, and tadvidam shila is the conduct of the knowers of dharma. The true knowers of dharma can never violate dharma, and therefore where we do not know, see, no book on Dharma Shastra can exhaust all the rules of dharma. So the brute force method is impossible, and therefore one has to go by the principles, and these principles are obtained derived from or obtained in Shrutis and Smritis. And even these Shrutis and Smritis cannot exhaust all situations. So, and in such cases, the conduct of the noble is what's a model for even situations where there are no explicit prescriptions in Shrutis and Smritis, and therefore here the conduct of Parvati, even if it is not fully stated in the Dharma Shastras, would very well serve as the veritable model for even the best of sages, so even if they be men. And therefore we see in Kalidasa the generous attitude where he accords an equal status to even women who are ascetically advanced, and therefore the question of gender and age are not an important consideration in the case of those who are spiritually advanced. That is the idea conveyed here. And the conduct of Parvati serves as a model of instruction for even the best of sages. And all along the Brahmacharin is paying compliments to the extraordinary beauty of Parvati also. So subtly he is praising her and cajoling her, and at the same time emphasizing on the spiritual aspects of Parvati's tapas and its progress. So after this verse he refers to the sanctity that is induced by the tapas of Parvati in the Himalayan region. Shall we continue this shloka? In 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಇದೆ. I think we can stop here. Okay, ಶ್ಲೋಕ ತುಂಬ ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ, ಸೊ we shall stop here.